Today we're going to make one of the most ridiculously over-engineered things I've ever made, with the goal of eliminating litter box smell out of our house for good. Let's jump right in. Along with eliminating the smell, I'm going to add quite a few quality of life features, mainly for me more so than the cats, and some of them are completely overkill, to the point where some people are going to ask, but why? But for me, a lot of times with projects, I like to throw in a couple extra features that force me to learn something new. They may enhance it a little bit, but definitely are far from necessary. But that way I walk out of the project learning a new technique, learning a new skill that I can put forward to other projects down the road. So I have to assume most people won't replicate a lot of this project for their own homes, but hopefully you find it entertaining and if nothing else, learn something new along the way. I will say when going through this, I try to tiptoe around the subject of cats doing their business, but based on what we're building today, there's not really a way around it, unfortunately. So I'm sure if you have cats or dogs or even kids, you can appreciate that, and hopefully no one's too grossed out by the message. I'll start off by saying I love all my pets, and I love my cats, but I hated their litter box. Years ago, I invested in automatic litter boxes, and that helped a lot, both for the cats and I. But there's still a few things that needed fixed to make this as painless as possible. Number one, and most important, was the smell. Even with the litter boxes automatically scooping up their gifts, there was still smell left behind. And because we keep our litter boxes in our storage area, we didn't want any additional odors lingering into our clothes or other things we're storing there long term. Number two was the tray removal. With these litter boxes, they have trays underneath that litter comes in. And normally it's very easy to change those out. However, having a hood above it made it a little more difficult and cumbersome to get in there. So I wanted to find an easier way to get those in and out. Three, cleaning up the excess litter. My one cat gets in there and acts like he's a little kid in the sandbox for the first time, and he just flings litter everywhere. You can literally hear him upstairs when he's using it sometimes. So I needed an easy way to clean that up afterwards. And last, I needed the walls to be easier to clean on the inside. One of the cats, we're not really sure which one, likes to leave drawings on the outside because they tend to spin around sometimes when they're doing their business. And since the previous one I had made was made of plywood, that obviously didn't clean very well. So I need the new surface to be much easier to clean up after. If you're new to this channel, I apologize this is the first video you're going to witness considering the topic, but even so, please consider subscribing and taking a look at other less disturbing videos on the channel. With that, let's jump right in. My one cat, Marcus, was massive. At one point he hit 22 pounds before putting him on his diet, which he still isn't happy about, but the good news is he's back down to 15 pounds now. Because of his weight, he struggled to move around inside the hood that came with the litter box. So since we have two cats and had two litter boxes, I made this makeshift hood out of scrap plywood that I had around the shop to help contain everything. Although it served its purpose, the thing was halfway falling apart, couldn't store anything on top of it because it wasn't strong enough, and it just trapped the air and the smell inside versus going to the air purifier which was next to it. So the first goal was to make the main hood that would go over both the litter boxes, which would be very similar in size to the last one, just slightly bigger and more support. Now, the first and most important thing, eliminating the smell.
I had been using this air purifier. However, the filter in it was shot, the UV light stopped working, so rather than replacing both of those, or the entire unit, I decided to use some parts from it. I had originally planned on having it suck air out of the back of this unit, and then blowing back out through a generic filter made for Odors, versus paying for a brand name one. Before, it would only catch the air on the left side from the air purifier. This new method should gather all the air above the boxes and should help a lot with the smell. However, after a lot of planning and thinking of different setups, I've changed my mind. You see, most people use a filter on their dust collector. However, I decided to pump the air outside to not have to mess with the size, cost, or having to replace filters, and I've been very happy with that. So I decided to make that happen here as well. The heck with the filter, I'm pumping this smell outside and my neighbors can enjoy it. My thought here is to bring it down to a 2.5-inch port and then use some excess dust collection hose that I have laying around from a previous project.
Next, I needed to find a way to clean up the excess letter easily. And to feed my constant weird obsession with dust collection, I decided to hook up a shop vac to the back of this and make a port that I could sweep the litter into.
Now that assembly is done, I threw a few coats of paint and primer on it just to make it look a little nicer.
The next step will be to make the inside easier to clean. To do this, I chose to use peel and stick dry erase paper. This was super easy to work with, it went on very, very clean, and it's going to be easier to clean than paint would be, and a lot easier than plywood. After initially laying down these sheets, I used a plastic putty knife to get the air bubbles out. To help keep cat hair getting sucked into the motor, I use these screens normally used for computer fans. Now, as if all this wasn't ridiculous enough, we're going to raise the bar even higher. Or in this case, we're going to raise the litter boxes. I wanted a fast way to get the old tray out of there, clean underneath, and then get the new tray in without spilling litter everywhere, old or new. In its current state, the litter boxes are going to be in the way of getting the litter back to that dust port. So we need to get the litter boxes out of the way somehow. Well, because these are plugged in the back, I can't pull it out. There's no room side to side. So the only solution is up.
I had been researching a lot using pulleys for a future, much larger project that at some point will likely be a video. So I decided to use pulleys to raise litter boxes here and lock it in place. This was partially to solve the issue for me, but mostly it was to teach me how they actually work, and that way I could learn on a much smaller scale and not make mistakes on something larger that had more weight on it. I initially tried using these little guys, but the cable rubbed a lot and it made it tougher to pull. So instead I used these V-groove bearings, which worked perfect. The first mistake I made was having the front bearings directly above when I pulled the main wire, as it didn't have far enough to go to lift the front of the box. So already learned a valuable lesson, run these to the back and all hooked together there, which then attaches to the main line.
All right, now all I have to do is move this to the basement, break down the old one, pipe it outside, and this project's done.
To pipe it outside, I used a PVC pipe, a 45-degree angle to ensure weather wouldn't get in, and a screened cap. Unfortunately, the piece I ordered had much larger gaps in the screen than I thought it would, so I had to use some spare screen repair kits I had around the house. So I cut a piece both inside and out and just used the heat gun to apply them to each other, and we were good to go.
That's it. First off, thank you for sitting through all that nonsense. I hope you actually enjoyed the video and hopefully found it entertaining. Personally, I love it. The cats don't hate it, so that's a plus. It really has served its purpose. The room smells so much better, and you can barely hear the motor running because it's on the lowest setting. I know someone's gonna say something about air pressure in the house with heating, cooling, all those things, but I measured it and it's less CFM than a normal bathroom vent. So far I've had no issues with that whatsoever. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you feel that I earned it. If you'd like to help support the channel to help put out more videos like this, which in this case I understand is a long shot, there'll be a link to my Patreon at the end of the video. Thank you to those that currently are members, and a special call out to my gold members. Thank you for your ongoing support. Hopefully this video doesn't change that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.